as if to say, hurry boy, she's waiting there for you. Gonna take the light that dragged me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. God bless the rains down in Africa. I'm gonna take some time to do the things we never
Hey friends, and thank you for tuning in for the third episode of From the Van, a podcast where I invite people into my van, maybe we drink some beer, and we talk about their relationships with residential vehicles. Today's episode is the first guest that I've had who's not been a friend of mine for more than half of my life. His name's Teddy White, and he's a fascinating dude. He's a fellow Southerner, recently moved out here about a year and change ago. And I was first aware of him because my favorite taco shop in town, taco stand in Encinitas, California, is it's got a big line out in front of it. And I would see Teddy parked there on this makeshift, crazy-looking tricycle, playing an electric piano that was embedded into the tricycle. He's out there busking, street performing for the line at taco stand. And then, I just thought he was some local that was playing music, and I realized after a while that he actually lives in an old Dodge van, and he's one of the consistently happiest people that I know. Really sweet guy, and we've become friends very quickly. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. I certainly enjoyed picking his brain and learning a bunch of new stuff about him. So enjoy episode number 3 of From the Van. Again, it's available as a podcast and also as a YouTube video series. You can find all of that crap by going to @FromTheVan on Instagram and clicking whatever link happens to be in the bio. Here we go, episode number 3.
Been buying boxed wine and taking it to the van because it's about the only thing I can really take in there that works.
How's that?
Well, because bottles are old, I don't want an empty container. And I just don't. And I don't like drinking alone, especially during the fucking winter. It gets dark at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
You just start going.
Room, like I start drinking. Goddamn, half a box is gone. And it's only 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, no more booze. No more booze in the van. Nah, I think it's different drinking with somebody though.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how y'all do it.
What do you mean?
Both of you living in here.
We really like each other. Will you go over
that
here?
has everything to do
Come on,
with it,
mister.
of course.
Good.
It's nice in here.
Thanks, man.
Can you see in here at all with your lights on? Do you see anything in here?
I can't.
I haven't tested mine either.
I can't perceive, like when I go outside, I can't see any perceptible light. You know, coming from the van.
You don't have a curtain here either, do you?
No, I used to, but now I got these things and I just use them.
Did you cut those yourself?
No. So Colette actually upholstered the bed and this little custom dog bed.
That's perfect.
In denim, and she was gonna make these shades, but then we looked online and there was a place that had them. For
nice.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
An IPA. Yeah.
I never drink them either.
Yeah. Yeah. She was gonna make these, but they were only like $140 from this place called like Eurovans or Euro Camper Vans or something. Yeah. And she was like, dude,
for the Mercedes.
Yeah, and they make them specifically for this van. And she was like, man, the raw materials for the thing is gonna cost $70, and they're only $130.
What is it?
It's this Prolex or something on one side, and then the other side is
Reflectix.
Is reflective, yeah. And then it's got that weird like.
So this is what makes it look nice, is the vinyl side on the outside.
The wood grain, the fake wood grain.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I used to have them on. I got one on front, and I used to have them on the sides, but then when I got them all the way around, you can't see in my van at all. And then I got the curtain about a month ago. It was all. Whoa!
Bubs, come over here.
About a month ago, I got the curtain.
Chill out.
And now I feel good about it. I feel completely tucked away. And also, a buddy of mine, a guy came into town back in June. He was an Army photographer,
Uh-huh.
professional Army photographer, and he was during a seminar down at one of the hotels on Hotel Circle. And he was on Mission Beach. They all had jobs to do. They all had projects to do for the week they were in town.
Uh-huh.
And he drew a straw saying, or a ticket saying, find a busker on Mission Beach. He came in there. He looked me up online and he found me. And I just happened to be there. I hadn't been there in a month. And he happened to find me that day. And I spent the whole week with him. He took over 3,000 photos of me. Just an
Holy
incredible
crap.
for 10 pictures.
Yeah.
And a photo essay. And that was his project. And he's military. He just retired, in fact. He said, "Oh, get a red light." I said, "Well, I got one. I got one on my headlamp." He said, "Yeah, you can move around. Nobody will see you flashing around."
See it all,
Then I put it in the other night for the first time. I bought batteries for my headlamp. I haven't used this. I've been out here, and it's so great. It's just exactly the light I need, because I don't want lights to open when I open the door. I don't want lights to come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been snatched out 3 times. You know, the cops
tell me about
that. Well, the first time I was up here at the edge in front of the first week I was here, right in front of the meditation gardens.
Uh-huh.
And one of the monks called the cops on me.
No shit.
Yeah, I mean.
Why?
Because
I don't
it's just,
get it.
I'm right in front. It says no RV parking, but it doesn't say van parking.
Right,
so
right.
I pull up there. I stayed there a couple of nights.
Uh-huh.
And so I was moving around. I was emptying my piss jar. And boom, 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 boom. It's cops.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting there trying to get my door open. I was already asleep.
Yeah.
And they told me that they had called the cops on me. He said, "Well, you're okay. Don't worry about it. The state park cops might come up and ask you to leave." But I stayed there and I didn't go there again. I haven't been there since.
Yeah, sure.
And then
You were on Coast Highway, is that right?
right here. No, on this second.
On second. Oh, the third.
Is this third?
Okay. Yeah, this is third.
And then the other one I was on third, right down here on the other side of this block. There's a big bush that comes, an aloe vera bush, and I parked there for. I was sick back in April, had a little cold, so I stayed in town. Just didn't want to do anything, couldn't sing, couldn't work, so I stayed there for like 3 or 4 days. Like an idiot. And it's like
if you stay too long.
It's Easter weekend, and the lady called the cops on me, and it was like right before dawn, right before dark, and he came, "Well, you know better than this." I said, "All right, I'll leave. Well, where are you going?" I said, "I'll go up to Carlsbad." "That's a good idea." So then about, I guess, a month later, I was up in Leucadia, and I was in front of a funeral home, just about 4 or 5 blocks north of here, and they called the cops on me, and they pulled me out. I had like a little bit of wine to drink, not much, but I was already asleep for like an hour.
Yeah.
And I smelled like wine.
Sure.
So he
wine's hard to hide, especially
me on
if it's red.
I thought I was going to go to jail.
Yeah.
And he scared the shit out of me. I said, "All right, this ain't going to happen again. No more booze in the van. And just don't ever stay anywhere twice a night.
Yeah.
Just do it right, you know."
Yeah.
And that's, I've learned. But now I stayed here 2 nights in a row where I am.
We're parked. This is where we stayed last night.
This is the place they don't. Well, my friends from Florida, the other couple with the dog, they were knocked on 2 or 3 nights ago, and they said, "Look, we're not going to give you a ticket, but just park over there in front of the school."
Yeah.
So, well, they told him that. That's good.
That's cool.
And did you hear anything about people coming up and knocking on the doors?
I've never gotten.
Well, you're talking about your friend that works with the cops. Who is that?
Oh, so this is super interesting. Actually, there's this HUD, this like federal HUD grant, I think, that went out, and every big like metropolitan area has to do this for funding. They have to do this survey to. It's basically like a census.
Yeah.
For homeless people, and they go out and each city, so Encinitas, was required to get like volunteers to go out, and my sister's
knocking on the window.
An activist,
so
like
it's not
I am.
cops.
No. And they didn't mess with anybody, right? They weren't trying to kick anybody out.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do is take stock of what the homeless situation is in each little city in San Diego County and stuff. And so my sister is a bit of an activist, and so she was like, "I'll do this." And so they got up at 4 o'clock this morning. From 4 to 8, they went around to different homeless places, different neighborhoods where they might find homeless people. And so it was such a curious thing because she was like, hey, did the surveyors knock on the van? And I was like, no.
I
And
think
then
they're apprehensive about doing it.
I
too.
asked you, and I asked Heather and Anthony.
Oh, so you've met them now?
Yeah. And they told me that they weren't knocked on, and they told me that story that you told me too. And it's such a curious thing because I asked my sister, and I started asking her a bunch of questions, so she finally sent me the survey. And there's not on this survey is a question of, the first question is, where did you sleep last night? You know, and it's like, oh, here, you know, in this van on this street or whatever. But there's never a question of, do you consider yourself as homeless? Do you identify
I wonder why.
as homeless? I don't know. I think especially in San Diego, it's probably missing a couple of questions because I know of a bunch of people
That's doing what we're doing.
especially in Southern California, because this is the nicest place to be.
It's the only place.
And, you know, you're employable. I'm employable. Like, those guys are employable. None of us consider ourselves homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just like,
Not one single bit.
choose to live in a van or whatever. And so that was a really curious thing to me. And I mean, it's cool that they're doing that. But at the same time, if maybe they're not. Oh, it's not a statistical like number of people that I asked, but of the 3 people that I know of, nobody got knocked on. And so, but if they're considering all of us, you know, surf bums and and you and
go to Moonlight, they're
just
all over the place.
but we're, you know, you don't.
And I
you
see
don't-
the same people in Solana Beach and up in Carlsbad. I seen the same people up and back and forth.
Well, that's the whole point, right?
Not as much in San Diego, but I've seen some of the guys down in San Diego too, around Mission Beach.
We've stayed a night or two in the city in San Diego just to go
Where?
and like drink beers.
Where'd you stay?
North Park.
That's
Like-
I haven't camped up there. I need to do it because that's where a couple of markets that I want to work are.
Mm-hmm.
And Hillcrest, and I've done one in North Park, but
Yeah, sure. You would probably make
I got
money.
to be there specific. Well, it's what it is. You know, none of the markets pay here like they do in Florida. All the markets I made $80 to $100 for a 3-hour job.
The market pays you to come.
The market pays you. They take $2 or $3 from each vendor.
Okay, so we're recording right now, and we're talking around something. Whoever's listening to this that doesn't know you, let's do a little background. So you were on my radar before I even thought about getting a van, even before I knew that you lived in a van, any of that, because I thought it was because I'm a big cycling advocate. And so I thought it was so cool. I figured you were some rich dude that lived over in Leucadia.
Well, that's
right?
a good way to.
I was like, oh, this guy
know.
lives in Leucadia, and he's an artist, and he's got a tricycle and a piano, and he just wants to like bring joy to people. And so he like,
Except for the rich part of this, right?
it's all that shit except for the rich part. Yeah. So you're from
I'm
Florida.
from Atlanta originally, but
Oh,
yeah, I
What
grew
part
up
of
in
Atlanta?
Jonesboro, south of Atlanta.
Okay.
Home of Gone with the Wind,
okay.
Terra.
Cool.
Everything, Rhett Butler and.
But you moved here from
No,
Florida.
I moved to Florida back in '91. I started doing cruise ships.
Okay.
And one of my best friends, he lived in New Smyrna Beach, and I would stop there halfway between there and Fort Lauderdale or Miami to catch a ship.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I come back and forth between Atlanta and South Florida, I'd stop there. That was back in 91 and 92.
Right.
And in 98, when I first got off cruise ships, I got an apartment in New Smyrna Beach. And I've lived there off and on since 98.
Okay.
And I still traveled. I lived in North Carolina and Wilmington for like 6 years, doing a piano bar in Wilmington. And then it fell through, and I took care of my mom in South Georgia until she died in '09. So I was in South Georgia after that. I had
What
an
town is that?
RV. Jessup.
Okay.
It's southwest of Savannah.
Okay.
Gnat Hill. Just gnats and
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
all my relatives
Super
from her side
wet.
of the 10 offspring family, grandchildren, live there. And my sister and some parts of my family lives in Atlanta, but most of them live in South Georgia that's still alive.
Okay.
And a few in South Florida too. But I've always been in the deep South,
Right. So, and you came out here like about a year and change ago?
Exactly a year, January 7th.
Okay.
I left January 4th, It was 29 degrees in New Smyrna Beach, and
29 degrees.
Freezing.
I didn't even know it got that cold
it
there.
was cold. It was right after the first of the year. It got cold as hell for like 3 days, and
Wow.
I left right the second day of the cold weather, and I stayed in Pensacola. It was 29 degrees when I slept. Then I went to San Antonio, and the next night in Tucson, and the next day on Sunday I was here. So it took me 3 full days to get out here, and sleeping. I slept good. I slept good for 5 hours, whatever cold snot sickles I had, But I slept good, and I drove the rest of the time. I was worried about my van. I had just gotten it back in October. I was just hoping it was going to make it out here, and then I'd deal with it.
Tell me about your van. What is it?
It's a '97 Dodge van I got from a friend of mine, and he got it back in '98, and it was sitting up in Virginia for years, just like a chicken coop on a farm. And I went and got it. He was going through a divorce, and I went and got it and picked it up, and I got it from him when I got down there. We made a deal, and I started working on it, and I had just finished rebuilding the piano bike for the 3rd time. This is the 3rd one I built. Okay. And the first 2 kind of rusted and fell apart, and so I decided to do it right. I got all the right aluminum and all the right.
It's made of aluminum, right?
Yeah, and stainless steel now. It was like bamboo and kelp and binders twine and rosin.
Yeah.
And so I redid it, and I redid it with my van. I got 3 cans of black deck liner.
Is it truck bed liner?
Truck bed liner is what I use. And I need to get it again.
Pretty, dude.
It's black and decorized my life. Everything I use is black paint for everything I use in my life. I need to paint my clothes black. And it's time to get another can of paint, in fact, redo it, because it's starting to rust. Some of the rust, had a lot of rust on the van, all underneath it.
When you bought it?
Yeah. Okay. And it was, but the motor's incredible.
Great.
Shape. And the transmission, got new tires, and I haven't even insulated because I don't need it out here. I got the solar panels on top, and it just reflects all the heat I need. During the heat of the summer, I wasn't hot in there.
So tell me about the piano rig. What tell us what you do. What do you do for a living?
I've played
now?
piano bars all my life.
Yeah.
I worked on ships for 12 years, and I've traveled all over Europe playing piano bars. I worked all over Atlanta, all over South Florida, Central Florida, just picking up gigs and doing them. But my forte is piano bars, just sitting up all night and being a late night punching bag for drunks. That's what I'm good at. I've just got a shitload of songs. I got like 400 songs that I can do.
Damn.
I know I can crap out something that I did 20 years ago. I can fake it, because of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And if I've done it 2 or 3 or 4 times, I can still get through it. Yeah. And that's the job, is say, what do you want to hear? And so I've always done piano bar, and I built the bicycle. First one 5 years ago, and this last one was built back in June a year ago. No, over a year ago. So I said, I play piano bar, and this is more fun than doing piano bars on ships.
And you're playing, so I know you just from my first exposure to you was like out in front of Taco Stand. It was my favorite, burrito shop. And you just sort of, that's what you do. You roll up to a place and
when I got
busk.
here, January the 7th, it was raining like hell. I went to Carlsbad, waited for the rain to stop, came back down. I saw all these people standing in line. They put the cash register at the front of the door, so there's always a line out front. I said, well, this is a good place to play. I just drove up there and started playing. Yeah. And all the people that worked there came out there and went, bah. And it was, and they didn't say leave, though.
Yeah,
so
they're happy with you there,
After I played, I went up there and I said, thank you for letting me play here. Is everything okay? I know I did it without asking you, but they said, oh, no, that's fine, Yeah. And all the guys and girls were just sweet as they could be. And so I've been there. When I'm in Encinitas, is the only place I play. Right. I do, because of that, though, I've had a half a dozen parties that has come up to get my card, and eventually they call me. And
they just have you play the
parties,
anniversary or whatever,
parties,
birthdays,
and Christmas parties.
Yeah,
and,
cool.
Yeah, and 4th of July parties, Memorial Day parties, and then I
baby.
I do street events too. That's in town. I've met the Chamber of Commerce people and the 101 people, and they said I can set up for just about any occasion. I just have to go up there and make sure it's okay.
Very cool.
And that's it.
And you play a bunch of covers, but you also have a whole bunch of original music too.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm making it a point now for every 4 songs I do is going to be an original. That's my New Year's resolution.
There you go, man.
So, well, I do them, but it's you kind of you beat your head against the wall sometimes when you're trying to. I'll never introduce a song unless it's people that are coming here to see me. And then I'll introduce the song and describe why I wrote. Sometimes I will, but I don't want to. I like seeing a response if no one knows who wrote it.
Right.
And
this is pretty, and he just did Billy Joel, but I like this too.
Yeah, who wrote that one?
Yeah.
That's the response. Oh, that's mine. And I would rather that response be to me. Hey, this is my song. Y'all listen to it.
yeah.
It doesn't
Sure.
work that way. So.
Cool. So what's your program? What's your plan? Like, are you gonna stay in Encinitas? Or you?
I'm staying here. There's no reason for me to go anywhere else. There's nothing to take me back to Florida. My son's the only person in my life that I'm really close to.
You're tight with, yeah.
My sister and I, she lives. I mean, we're close, but we haven't hung out with each other in 30 years hardly.
Okay.
Now she's in Atlanta. She's got her own life and great grandchildren and all that stuff. And I have no reason to go back and suffer and sweat and go through 4 T-shirts a day anymore.
It's fucking hot, man.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And since I've been out here, I'm in heaven. And,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna do it. My goal is to sell a song. I've got to sell a song, something that'll give me some kind of retirement. I've got the songs. I've got really good songs, and I've intuitively blown with the wind all my life, but it's always been good for me.
Yeah.
I've always been happy. I've always known the reason. I was 35 before I realized why I was a musician. Before I truly realized why I was a musician.
That's curious. What do you mean why I'm a musician?
Well, you do it because you get girls at the beginning. I grew up playing trumpet through high school and through the Army band.
Yeah.
And then in high school I started playing piano and I started singing and I realized it's so much more fun. And I realized it's the vibration. As simple as that. And when I got into the yoga at Nanda and the teachings and the spirit of the music and the essence of the vibration, I realized that's what I'm doing all the night, all the time. There's so many times I sing and I'm
great,
and my head goes through the ceiling, and it's like a second wind to a jogger. It's like something. Unless you jog, you don't feel it. Unless you play and sing, you're not going to feel this. Right. So I can't describe to you what I feel. Yeah, and it took me till I was 35 to realize why I did. And it's just now. Whenever I get that feeling, which is on a daily basis pretty much. Right. I weep all the time when I sing. Because it's just the joy of singing is something that I'm sorry you can't do it if you don't.
I sing poorly.
Well, you can have that feeling if you hum, you can get that feeling. Sure. So, but when you create something, you write and you sing it, and it means something to you. It touches you in a way that you just can't describe to people. Yeah. And,
so talk to me about SRF. Like, that's a part of the reason that you're specifically in Encinitas.
Well,
right?
I was doing a cruise ship out of L.A. back in, I guess, I first did one in 94, 95, but 97, I was on a carnival ship, and this guy I know that was he was the bass player in the country group that was hired for the band in one of the lounges, and he came up to the piano bar, and we got to be friends, and I went to his cabin one night, and he had the travel prayer altar, and I'd seen it before on other people's walls on cruise ships. And
he never stops doing this.
And I said, "What is that? I've seen it before." He said, "Well, I'm going to Lake Shrine tomorrow, so if you'd like to come," he had his truck. He lived down here. He's from Phoenix. Yeah. In Vegas. So he said, "I'm going there tomorrow. If you want to come, you can come." So I went with him to Lake Shrine, which is in Pacific Palisades, and it was right after the temple had just opened. This was 97. As soon as I walked on the property, bam! It grabbed me by the boo-boo. It just, it just is. I'm supposed to be here. And he bought me the autobiography, and I read it. And then the next week, I bought the lessons and started having a correspondence course on learning how to meditate.
Cool. Well, so here's the deal. You're going to be way better at explaining this than I am, but SRF, Self-Realization Fellowship, is located in Los Angeles and here.
The mother center, the main office is, the main administration is. This is where...
This is the origination
It's where it
point,
originated.
right?
His first main disciple...
So what is it?
What is self-realization?
What is Self-Realization Fellowship? You're going to describe that way better
Well,
than I would.
no, I'm not good at describing it exactly. It's a culmination of all the faiths. Yogananda came to America. His mission was to show the Christians that Christ and Krishna were on the same page.
It's so pretty.
And it's really that simple.
It's
We're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And all religions are doing the same thing. So his goal was to bring all the religions together.
Uh-huh.
And he came here in 1920. And his first main disciple bought all this property up here. I don't know how many acres it was, but
Jeez, man, they
it goes
own
all the
a
way up
lot
to
of
those
property
orange
here.
acres up there, you know.
And they got the pumpkin farms, too, across the street. and
That's
all that
all
shit.
those. That's
yeah.
yeah, right. So that's all property they still own. I think they rent some of it out, but
Uh-huh.
and that was bought back in I think 32.
Okay.
And it's in the temple there. The grounds was always just constantly being rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so beautiful. It
Yeah.
is. And on the bluff. Have you ever read the autobiography?
No.
Oh, you ought to get
I know
me a-
very little about what
Well, that'll-
all the whole deal is about.
You can't. When I first got into it, I bought that book
Uh-huh.
every week for somebody, and you can't
Oh, yeah.
turn people onto it. You just can't. do it.
Okay.
You know, people thought I was in a cult. My parents thought I was in a cult,
Right.
and so I just after about a year, I decided, all right, don't go out and spread the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, if people want to do it, they'll do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
my buddy who turned me on to it, he couldn't have gotten me to do it. If you want to come out here, I'm going there tomorrow, and that's all it took.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's that. So if you buy someone the autobiography, chances are they're gonna, you know, make something out of it.
Uh-huh.
But if you're on the right path, one of the first things you learn is once you sincerely seek God, God sends you a guru. That's one of the first things you learn. So if you're sincerely on the path, you'll be sent a guru. And my first question was, oh, I believed in Jesus all my life, and I still do, of course. But why isn't Jesus my guru? And my buddy says, because of SRF. Because Yogananda taught you these teachings. Jesus didn't teach you these teachings. He taught his disciples these teachings, but it's been disseminated since then. You know, it's been diluted. It's been bastardized since then. Oh, I think it's sweet.
I
She
love it.
talks to you.
I whine at him and he whines right back at me. That's right. Are you yodeling, mister?
So I'd love to have a dog.
Yeah,
Have
it's
some-
great, man. This is the nicest dog crate I've ever seen.
You know, I kind of feel like a dog in a crate in my van. I'm completely content when I get in there and like,
Yeah.
I feel safe.
yeah. It's super chill. So what are the things that you would call like the coolest thing about living in a van, and then what's the most difficult thing about living in a van?
You know, I've been in it a year now, and I'm just realizing how cool it really is.
Yeah.
Because I'm content and I'm comfortable now. The
Uh-huh.
first 6 months I was chasing electricity, getting the solar right, and getting what I needed. And with this van, I've rebuilt 3 vans and 1 RV, and I said I'm not going to build anything until I need it. So I didn't put walls in here. The other ones I did like this, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I might want to tear it out and do something else. And I didn't know what I was going to need for, you know, logistics and getting my equipment in and out and stuff. So there's nothing I don't like about living in the van. I wish I could stand up in it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but when I put my pants on, I just put my head up against the top and push up. And I don't have a bed or a couch to sit on. I sleep on the floor on a mat because it's the way it had to be designed for the equipment.
Yeah.
So everything I have is on the walls, all my storage. There's nothing I don't like about it. The only thing that I don't like about living this lifestyle is if I have a wreck, everything's destroyed.
Oh, you're fucked.
I am fucked, big time. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna have to restart, and there's no telling how that van will roll whenever it wrecks.
Right.
Well, it'll be, if it's not me dead, it's the equipment at least.
Sure.
So I drive it very, very gingerly.
Yeah.
And I just don't go anywhere unless I need to.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier today that you sort of like use your litmus test for whether you're going to drive somewhere is, am I going to get paid?
Am I going to make money if I'm going to go over 4 or 5 miles?
Yeah.
Am I going to get paid for it?
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty cool because it really puts the simplicity in my life. Because I'm realizing, when I was in Florida, I think about what I did during the day. Well, I'd wake up, I'd drink my coffee, I would meditate first, then I'd drink my coffee, then I'd play the piano for a while, and if I didn't have a project like the piano bike or my van I was working on, I would go jogging, I'd go ride my bicycle on the beach, I'd come back, I'd practice some more, play some more, then I'd get on the internet, I'd fuck around the internet for a while, and then I'd write songs, I'd record, and I realized I do the same thing here, but I feel a little guiltier here because if I'm watching YouTube, just something stupid on YouTube, I feel like I'm wasting my time. When I was in a rented apartment, I didn't feel like I was wasting time. It's just what people do.
Yeah.
Here, I feel like I need to be more judicious about my time, and so that's a little bit of a guilt I feel about. I practice all the time and I work all the time, and so it's not like I'm not doing anything I didn't do. I'm doing it more actually, but I still feel like there's something empty in my life. There's something, and if it's anything, it's probably not being able to merchandise myself the way I wish I should. Because when you merchandise, you're probably so much better at this, at going out and just hitting people, going out and talking to people all the time. I don't really care if I'm bothered by that or not. I should, but I'd rather sit and just play the piano.
Well, everybody has a little penis envy. Everybody wishes they could play, but chopsticks just ain't good enough. You gotta be talented to get paid. It doesn't really matter how rich you are, how much hair's on your head. You could be the 42nd president. That man knew how to get ahead. You can beat your drum, or toot your flute, or slide on some big trombone. But I've got the biggest instrument. I've got what everybody wants, 'cause everybody has a little penis to envy. No one's...
All right, that was episode number 3 of From the Van featuring Teddy White. What a super cool dude. I'm really fascinated by him. It's good to see him around all the time. We have good conversations consistently, and I'm glad that we were able to share one with you. If you're still listening this late in the podcast, I appreciate you being here, and I hope that you'll tune back in someday to hear some more From the Van. At From the Van on Instagram, click a link in the bio, go watch some videos of us sitting and drinking beer in the van while we talk, or just listen to the audio. You do you, man. Be yourself. We'll see you next time.